Good evening, folks. Before we get started, I would like to have, we have 3 young ladies from our culinary arts program who volunteered to stay after school today, put all of this together for you tonight and lay it out. And so we really like to recognize kids when they go above and beyond. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell you what school they're from.
Hello, my name is Lucy Elaine. I'm homeschooled and I'm a senior.
I'm Heather Burgess. I go to Foxcroft Academy and I'm a junior.
I'm Courtney Bryant. I go to Nokomis Regional High and I'm a senior.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. My name is Kevin Jordan. I'm the superintendent of schools here in SAD 46 and also AOS 94, which includes the Harmony School Department and the Athens School Department. I want to thank all of you for coming tonight as you kind of get caught up on where we are in our journey towards a potential new consolidated high school in the state of Maine. And I want to thank everybody for making the effort to come tonight. I know people came from all corners of the state. Scott came down from Fort Kent. Any snow in Fort Kent?
Not really.
Not yet.
Not there.
So we appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Let's start with some introductions. We'll go around the room. If you could just kind of turn and face the group when it gets to you so we get an idea of who's in the room tonight. Then we'll move forward on the agenda. So we'll start up here.
Hi, I'm Matt Drewette-Card. I'm the Director of Curriculum Instruction Assessment for MSAD 46.
I'm Pat O'Neill, the Director of TCTC and also the Assistant Superintendent for AOS 94.
If you want to.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Lizin. I'm the Dean of Community Education at the University of Maine at Fort Kent. And I manage the Rural U Early College and Dual Enrollment Program as part of my work. All of the high schools in this region are partners of Rural U, so I'm very happy to be here tonight.
Great.
Good evening. My name's Tara Maker. I'm the K-12 account executive here in Maine for Apple.
Good evening. I'm Dwayne Minton. I'm on the school board for SAD 46. Dexter.
Bob Flair from Ripley, SAD 46 school board.
Mike Conner, I'm a facilitator for this process.
Chris Winstead, Executive Director of Piscataquis County Economic Development.
Selma Regan, I'm Director of Piscataquis Valley Adult Education Cooperative.
Hello. My name is Robert Roper, and I'm a professor of business administration at the University of Maine in Bethlehem. I'm also the interim campus dean at UMA Bangor. So as you may have known that one time as Bangor Community College years and years ago. Anyway, I'm very glad to be here.
Hi everybody, I'm Rachel McGill. I'm the coordinator for early college programs at University of Maine at Augusta.
Good evening, my name is Dan Coffey and I'm the manager of the Timber Institute.
Steve Whitcomb, I'm with H.O. Bushad Trucking in Hamden, Maine.
Corey Hill, SAD 4 School Board.
I'm Nikki Fortier, SAD 4 School Board.
Ray Green, Superintendent, SAD 4.
Kevin Bowman, Bowman Constructors.
Hi, I'm Nikki Chadwick, Vice President of Quality and Education at Mayo Regional Hospital.
I'm Hillary Starbird, Community Outreach Coordinator at Mayo Regional Hospital.
I'm Deborah McPhail, and I'm a school counselor in Guilford.
John Keene, Principal of Piscataquis Community High School in Guilford.
Hi there, Dan Crocker, Dean of Enrollment Management and Institutional Research at Eastern Maine Community College. Also in charge of all the concurrent enrollment, of which many students come from this region. Very happy to be here.
Steve Bell, Principal at Dexter Regional High School.
I'm Jerry Rudman, a community member from Dexter.
I'm Larry Pelletier, the board instructor here at Tri-County Technical Center.
Jason Frederick from Sergeant Corporation.
Greg O'Neill, SAD 4 School Board.
Thank you folks very much. As you probably have figured out from the agenda or the theme, tonight we're at the point in our application process where we need to push the conversation with higher education in the state of Maine and also our industry partners. So thank you all for being here.
Hi.
Quick introduction.
Terry Young, Hardwood Products and Curative Medical.
Terry Young from Hardwood Products.
Invite of Craig Lemio.
He's hiding in the back.
Hey, you can't hide back.
Go ahead, have a seat. Yes, any way you want, Terry.
Front or?
Perfect.
That doesn't mean I'm going to go on a committee.
No. Just a couple of things. Then we're going to go through a PowerPoint and just kind of bring everybody up to speed on the work the committee's been doing. For those of you that are here for the first time with us, Department of Education opened an application process a little over a year ago, looking for districts that were interested in consolidating at the high school level, moving into one facility, providing education for grades 9 through 16, and it would be a competitive process. 7 or 8 regional cooperatives made applications to the Department of Education. We are fortunate to be one of the 3 finalists that's moving forward. We've been working on part 2 of our application. It's due December 29th, I believe. If we are selected, the Department of Education will be building a new facility in this area, which would combine or which would hold Dexter Regional High School, Piscataquis Community Secondary School, the Tri-County Technical Center under one building, and the Department of Education is also requiring us to offer post-secondary education under this one roof, and also to combine our CTE programs with industry partnerships. So that's a quick overview of where we are and why we're in this process. So we thank you all for being interested, and especially those folks that are new on board tonight. We'll get you a quick update on where we are, and we'll kind of move forward from there. And Doug Thomas, SAD 46 School Board.
Sorry,
You have, can we slide this just up a little bit? They also have a rough. You also have a copy of this. I think we passed around a little smaller slides, a little harder to read, but we want to walk you through where we are and kind of bring you up to date before we split up tonight and dig into a little bit more further conversation. One thing, if you want to ask a question tonight, but you don't dare ask it, we have a little Google Slides addressed up here. From your phone, from your laptop, you can ask a question. It'll go directly to Matt. We'll address it later in the night before we close, and we don't have to, if you don't want to know or don't want anybody to know who asked the question, we don't have to do that. So if there's something you're interested in or something you think about on the way home tonight, post the question and we'll make sure we get answers back to you. Our challenge, creating a new high school experience for all students. And the Department of Education is very specific in this part, in that traditional high school, career and technical education, higher education have to be entwined, have to be working together. That's the challenge as we work through this project. We have done a quick mission and vision. We still have more work to do on this as part of our Part 2 application. Learning always, always learning. That's kind of a motto that we've adopted early on. It just means exactly what it says. Kids can be learning anywhere, anytime, in many, many situations. We've been encouraged to be innovative, to not be myopic, to think outside the box, and you'll see some of that thinking as we move a little bit further through this. Our vision, the key components of our vision at this point: a fully integrated, student-centered, personalized learning environment, connecting all of the people who are here tonight, providing authentic, relevant, career-oriented opportunities for all students. We believe this has an opportunity to have one of, if not the biggest economic impact in this area of the state in many, many years. We want to know from you folks in industry, what can we do for you? How can we help you with your employees? How can we give you or provide to you better, well-trained employees? And also with that connection with higher ed. How do we integrate that into our program, not only for our high school kids in dual enrollment programs or things like that, but also more access for rural Mainers who may want to take some classes or some courses in that 13, 14, 15, 16 range. So it's how we put all this together. Phase 1, districts agreed to consolidate. We've been through that. As I said, Guilford and Dexter and the Tech Center. The design is phase 2. School programming, governance, mission, vision, those type of things. That's where we are right now. We're working through phase 2 of the project. Phase 3 is begin the comprehensive school design process, but only if we're approved. We should hear at some point, well, this takes you back to where we started, January 2017. Our phase 1 application was due May 2017. Phase 2 participants were announced in July 2017, and again, we were fortunate enough to be rated high enough to move forward. And then December, which is not that far away, phase 2 of our application is due. January 2018, the Department of Education is reviewing all applications. February, winners will be announced. The Department of Education has said they may award 1 new school, they may award 2 new schools, they may award 3 new schools, they may award none. So we're not sure exactly where we stand with all of this, other than we're one of the 3 finalists that are moving forward at this point. Depending on appeals, because if you're not one of the school consolidated regions who is not chosen, there's an appeal process. If there's an appeal process, we're talking probably May or June before the project gets rolling. The Department of Education has said probably 5 years from June would be an anticipated opening of a building. There's a lot to it once you get to an approved process. We've just brought some statistics that we have included as part of our application, some unemployment rates, some workforce statistics as we move forward in this region. Approximate number of students who live in SAD 46, SAD 4, and the vocational schools that send to us is about 2,000. Currently, in our VOC program, there are 22 national certifications students can get before they go out the door. This would impact 28 communities in this area. Number of businesses, 100% of the students in our district and communities who will be able to attend this school. We're going to be closing Piscataquis Community Secondary School and closing Dexter Regional High School, closing this building, and everybody will come together under one roof. We have been working hard over the last couple of months on things like governance, administration, curriculum. Program integration is a huge component. We've had a committee that's met 3 different times, I think, and what we're going to do is walk you through some of that tonight, just so you have a rough idea of where we are now, to help inform you as we have more conversations later in the evening. So I'll have Patrick and Matt kind of walk you through some of that.
Yeah, thanks again for coming tonight. This is a lot of fun designing this. So one of the things we want to make sure that before we get to our smaller conversations, before we start really getting into deep about what it is that our program is looking at, what we're drafting, what we're trying to come up with here, is wanted to make sure that everyone is crystal clear on the application requirements. So these are the constraints that we have to work within. So for example, the facility will promote a one campus design for each of the 4 components, high school, CTE, higher ed, and industry partners, and they all must have a physical presence on the campus. So as you're thinking tonight, as you're going forward, as you're listening to the program that we're going to kind of start presenting to you in a moment, these are the things that we had to think about in our constraints, in our design work. Each of the 4 components must offer teacher and student interaction that is not separated in space or space and time. Sounds very Star Trekian. But what that really means is you can have distance learning, but it can't just be distance learning. There can be that component there, but there has to be, getting back to that first part, a one campus, on the campus design. Courses can be provided by the internet, of course, and administration. So we're working on this one site. Everyone's here and at some level, but there is some room for internet distance type learning. So part of what the committee that Patrick and I facilitated was on the integration of programs. What might that look like? Given the constraints of having the one site, all 4 of high school, CTE, higher ed, industry partnership, what might that look like? What might that be? And you'll notice if you go through, the word integrated comes up quite a bit. Because one of the things that they are looking for is, again, not thinking in terms of the way that school has always been, not just in terms of separate courses, but how might we really create authentic learning experiences for our kids that are going to be driving them towards something intentional. How will the students program be fully connected to the integrated consolidated model? So starting off at the traditional 9th grade, going all the way up through grade 14 or 16, how is it connected? Where are the connections happen, and how does that fluidity work? Higher ed courses and programs are offered in the facilities on one site, streamlined and integrated learning experiences for students of all ages. That's another important facet of this application, that this building is for students in our communities, of course, but it's also for our community members. We have to build that in, an intentional design. And then detail the industry-specific training proposed in the facility by business organizations. So these are the things that we have to provide to DOE, that we have a plan for. And it doesn't have to be a detailed plan. Think of it, it doesn't have to be ground level, it can be 10,000 foot. We are dreaming at this point. We are coming up with a dream scheme. I've used this metaphor before, but it's like if you're designing, you have an automobile manufacturer, they'll come up with a concept car. But the concept car will not be that when it comes out to mass manufacturing. Elements of it will be, but the whole thing will not be. So we're still in that conceptual design phase. As Superintendent Jordan said, we're about 5 years from actually opening doors. 5 years from June, if we get approved. So now we're going to get to the fun part. This is the work that the committee has been working on for the last few months. We're going to share with you the program that we've designed. It's all draft at this point, but this is the work that we've done. So we've had all these little elements that we've had to put into play: Maine Community Colleges, 21st Century, Maine Universities, 916, one site, everything, etc. There's a lot of pieces to add in and to filter in and to try to design around. So what we have gone and done is created a design for a program that has 3 levels, 3 layers of what we're calling learning innovation. We have an exploratory, a focus, and a major. And it deepens along the way. It starts off more, like it says, exploratory. And I put these numbers here. You might not see them on your slide pages, but this is available online on our high school page. our project website. And it'll be easier to find. It's there. But starting off at grade 9 all the way up through grade 16, that's the kind of progression. But we also have to make sure that we are not thinking in those linear terms. That we might have students getting to a major when they're here, this level, or it might go beyond. We can't think in those linear terms necessarily. So what we've come up with is, instead of thinking in terms of traditional courses, traditional content areas, like you would see in a traditional high school, like English language arts, science, social studies, etc., we've developed a plan that has 20 what we're calling career-oriented clusters. And within these, so clusters like manufacturing, health science and wellness, industrial information technology, general contracting, business management and administration. This is some of the feedback that we're going to look for from you tonight. What are you seeing as needs? What are you seeing as what's coming up in the future? But instead of having our high school level courses be based on traditional content, we're making it more directed towards intentional, career-oriented design and a plan, going forward that way. So we put together a couple of examples of what this might look like, because people like examples, and it helps to get an idea of it. So part of our design and the way that we're looking at it is you have all of your exploratory options here. And it was important to the committee that students have exposure across all of these, because they're not going to know what they like. They're in 9th grade. They're in 10th grade. They don't know what they want. I'm 41. I don't know what I want. But it's so we make sure we have some level of exposure in there. But it also provides us opportunities to do things like there's been a big movement in the state of Maine to bring back things like home ec and personal finance and these other kinds of programs that really provide life skills for everybody that everyone needs. We could build these in. Yeah, this is dreaming big. So once they've gone through the exploratory phase, they have the ability to make a choice about what kind of things they might be interested in. They would choose potentially 2 areas that they're going to really focus on. They've gone through the exploratory phase, and now they're getting a little bit deeper. So this student here is going to go to STEM and agriculture, food, and sustainability. And once they've gone through the requirements for that level, for those, they'd be able to go deeper in, and maybe they're looking at things like genetically modified organisms and urban farming. So now they're going even deeper, and they're going into more of an internship. They're going into higher education. They're going into mentorships, journeyman, etc. Another example, again, exploratory here, but health science and wellness and public administration and government could lead to epidemiology and disease prevention. These are real careers that we're leading our students and giving them exposure to be able to achieve. Architecture, construction, and design, energy efficiency could lead to fuel-efficient building design and construction. Why not? What might we be able to do? By giving the students the exposure here and the ability to be able to focus here, we're able to give them that pathway to do what it is that they're interested in, what it is that they're passionate in, while at the same time thinking in terms of intentional career options. And we have one more. They go through the exploratory phase, industrial information technology, and arts, audio, video, technology, communications, and they go into coding, programming, and app development. Because part of what app development is, you need to have both the IT side and the arts and design side. So there you go. There are lots of different ways we can integrate, and the possibilities are endless, in my opinion. So this is a small sample of some of the ideas that we've come up with. There's, especially for, they're all on the website, but for some of the folks, our industry and higher ed partners, I gave you handouts. If you don't have those, I have some more extra if you came in later. But just some ideas of some potential career pathways that our career-oriented clusters could lead people towards. There might be some that are not listed there that someone else thinks of, and that's great. It's not an end-all be-all list. It's designed to be a starting point, not an ending point. So here's where we're going to get ready to break into our smaller groups. One group's going to be the higher ed group, and the other one's going to be the industry partnership groups. Because we have some specific questions, and I want to hear your ideas, want to hear your thoughts, and get your specific questions addressed, answered, and then built into our application. Your voice is incredibly important in this. So for the higher education folks, we're asking you to think about one of the things we have to do is list the strategies and approaches to ensure that the higher education courses and programs are offered in facilities located on one site, providing a streamlined and integrated learning experience for students of all ages. Now, Mike here reached out to DOE to ask for some clarification as to what that means. And what we got was this response. The concept of including 13 to 16 programming originated with the Many Flags project from the Rockland-Thomason area. The department has no special intent regarding this aspect of the project. There needs to be opportunities incorporated into the design for students and the public to be able to access college-level courses on-site and via technology. There is no intent to build buildings to house 13 to 16 programs, but classrooms and or office space could be incorporated into the building to support college-level courses. It is also expected that the program spaces and the design of the 912 program would be used to support 13 to 16 programming through room scheduling. That's their language. That's what they have come back at us with. So that's part of the design constraint from the DOE in terms of what they're thinking in these ways. So how can we do one site? And for the industry partners, detail the industry-specific training that we're going to be able to offer here. What can we do to help you? What can we create? What can we build into our programming to support you and to support the community and to support your organizations? And describe the organization that will offer the training. That's an important part, because that means that the business organization, the industry partnership, also has a presence here in the building to support that training. That's it. I want to remind you, too, that the timeline on this has been incredibly short. And we thank you so much for giving your time and your opportunities to help us out with, or to be a part of this.
Before we break, I just wanted to give you a statistic. Some of you should have heard this or might have heard this. My generation, they used to say that we change jobs 5 or 6 times in a career. Anybody in the audience knows what it is? 14 to 17 times in the course of your lifetime. So that tells us that what lies ahead of us, the programs, the employeeships, the industry, some of it hasn't even been invented yet. So the students that we deal with, hopefully in the next 5 years, will leave us with the skills necessary to be flexible and continue that lifelong learning, both academically and in industry. At this point, I think Mr. Jordan is going to break us up into groups, and there's 2 rooms, the conference room and this room. Right, and there's more food.
Yep. Okay, please grab some food if you want to as we break up. Those of you that are interested in having conversation around the industry folks, it's going to be in this room. Higher ed folks are going to be around the corner in the first door on the right. Bathrooms are down on the right. If you want to grab those before we get together, grab a coffee, grab some food, and we will plan on being back here about 7:30 for kind of a debrief on where the conversations went tonight. Anybody have any questions at this point? Yeah, and make sure you get your name on the sign-up sheet. Good, thank you, go ahead.